Hi, it's Jack, and this is the podcast version of this episode. If you want to read the words as they're being analysed, then if you're on Spotify, you can become a subscriber of this channel or head over to the YouTube channel. And on both platforms, you can also sign up to get exclusive episodes and early access to the regular weekly episodes too.
Okay, but he might make it.
I don't want to give you that false hope.
I'm sorry, I just thought he was gone and now I don't know what to tell. It's sort of a game changer.
Hours after Dan Markell was shot, Wendi Adelson sat in a police station, already talking about who might want him dead. And when she heard he might live, she called it a game changer. What does that reveal about her? Let's take a closer look. Welcome to Never a Truer Word, where we look at the words that people choose to use to see if they're telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. If you're new to this, what I do here is different from anywhere else. What I do is I strip away everything apart from the words that are said by the person at the centre of the story. And then I use my process of statement investigation to give you the key to seeing deception, where the truth could be, and also the motivations of the person talking as well. It's a process that I use with investigators, with corporate clients, and with the media to get a deep understanding of what is really being said. So we're here with Wendi Adelson again, and the police interview that she gave just hours after Dan Markell was shot. She was taken to the police station to speak to the police, to talk to them, to fill them in on what she knew and what she thought might have happened. I've looked at this before. There's so many things. It's a 5-hour interview. And this one, what I'm going to do is take a particular look at how she deals with her family, bearing in mind that both her mom and her brother Charlie, they have now been convicted of being involved in this murder. How does she talk about them? Does it show she has any insight into what happened? That's what we're going to look at. And I want to pay particular attention to leakage. Now, leakage is when what's inside our head comes out, because it's hard to stop whatever is in our mind from being present in our words, particularly if we're being stressed. Now, there's lots of times that we all do this. You know, you're thinking about something, but you don't want to say it out loud, but you're holding the thoughts inside your head, and it's very hard to filter out absolutely everything that's inside your head. It's hard work. So let's pay attention to leakage when we listen to the words of Wendi Adelson talking to the police.
I have a lot of friends.
I know.
How do you know that?
Well, you had 2 of them up there for a last-minute lunch date, right?
Last minute?
Well, I mean, you went up there, you're sitting with them, you have friends.
I do. What I meant by it is that Danny didn't treat me very well, and I'm so scared that maybe someone did this. Not because they hate Danny, but because they thought this was good somehow.
Oh, are you saying that you think maybe one of your friends would have done something like this?
Who would do this?
I don't know. That's why you're here, and that's why we're talking. Would you ever ask someone to do something like this?
Not in a million years.
Okay. Do you think someone would do this for your benefit without asking you?
No.
What good does it serve?
I made my brother, the one, his name is Charlie, the one I'm really close to, he makes a lot of jokes in bad taste, and it was a joke he made. He bought the TV for me this morning that got broken, and I was talking to him about whether it made sense to pay to fix it or whether I should get a new one, and it was always his joke that, like, he knew Danny treated me badly, and it was always his joke. He said, I looked into hiring a hitman, and it was cheaper to get you this TV, so instead I got you this TV.
Okay.
I mean, he would never. He's my big brother, and he's been taking care of me since I was little, but he would never. And I told that to the repair guy this morning.
Right. That's okay.
I said, he asked me how much it cost, and I said I didn't know because it was a gift, because my brother said it was cheaper than a hitman. It was my divorce present.
Okay.
Such a horrible thing to say. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
But even my family, who felt like I had been mistreated, would never do something like this. Never.
Wendi likes to talk, which is great for this channel when we're only looking at the words that people say. She's perfect to study. She starts off that extract by saying, I have a lot of friends, and the detective says, I know. And Wendi says, How do you know that? Now, this for me is kind of classic. Is she wanting to check up on what the detective knows about her in a suspicious way, you know? That's what this could be read at. I have a lot of friends. I know. How do you know that? She's wanting to know a little bit about the investigation there, how much the detective knows about her. It certainly is a red flag for me. And the detective's response to how do you know that is, well, you had two of them up there for a last-minute lunch date, right? And Wendy says last minute in a questioning way, as in, whoa, this detective seems to know a lot about me. How do you know it was last minute, detective? She seems to be really interested in how much this detective knows about her. Now, that could be because she feels she's suspect number one, top suspect, the ex-wife of the person that's just been shot. However, she does seem to be digging in here to see just how much the detective knows about her. It's a red flag. The detective says, well, I mean, you went up there, you're sitting with them, you have friends. Wendy says, I do. What I mean by it is if Danny didn't treat me very well, and I'm so scared that maybe someone did this, not because they hate Danny, but because they thought this was good somehow. Now, the first thing I pull out in all of that is Wendy's mind has jumped to the fact that Danny has been shot because of, number one, someone angry at Danny, someone wanting to eliminate Danny from the picture to get their anger across at Danny, or to take away the anger by getting rid of the problem. That's what her mindset is when she talks here. She says, I do. What I mean by it is, and this is her saying, this is why I said I had a lot of friends. She's introducing the further thoughts here on I have a lot of friends. This is why I mentioned that, is that Danny didn't treat me very well. So not only is she at this point talking about the fact that this must be or could be her priority, her first thought is that this is kind of revenge for how Danny treated her. It's not just general anger, it's anger about the way that Danny treated her. This is what she jumps to when she's heard that Danny is being shot. And she says, I'm so scared that maybe someone did this, not because they hate Danny, but because they thought this was good somehow. So this is not someone angry at the way that Danny has treated Wendy. That's not what her thought is. And she's saying this in her words. She's saying that Danny may have been shot for a good reason. And if that is because Danny didn't treat me very well, then that's got to be to stop the bad treatment. But she's gone straight away to the fact this was a targeted attack, someone targeting Danny because Danny didn't treat her very well. In her words, she doesn't seem to think or ask any questions about, is this a robbery gone wrong? Is this a random attack? Is someone with mental illness or anything like that? Or wrong place, wrong time? No, it is the fact that her mind jumps to the fact that this would have happened because of how Danny treated her, and it made people angry, and maybe people thought that doing away with Danny would be a good thing. It's the first thing she says. And as we go through this, it seems to be the only possibility that she considers. The detective says, oh, are you saying you think maybe one of your friends would have done something like this? And that seems to be what she's saying. I've got a lot of friends, and the reason I mention I have a lot of friends is Danny didn't treat me very well, and someone might have thought that shooting Danny was a good thing to do. So the detective naturally brings this up. Oh, are you saying that you think maybe one of your friends would have done something like this? Now, this is a yes-no question, and she doesn't say yes, and she doesn't say no. Red flag there, she's not answering the question directly. Instead, she asks a question back. Who would do this? Now, the reason that we answer questions with questions very often is to buy ourselves thinking time, because that's a question I don't want to answer without giving it some thought, without thinking, do I say yes or no to this? What is the right answer? What is the best, most beneficial answer to me? Which answer can I give here that causes me comfort, not stress? And if that doesn't come like that very quickly, then what we can do is we can ask a question and reply to the question. We don't really want the question we've asked being answered. We just want to buy ourselves some thinking time. And she says, who would do this? The detective says, I don't know. It's kind of like, this is what I'm asking you. That's why you're here. That's why we're talking. Would you ever ask someone to do something like this? That's another yes-no question. Yes, I would, because I'm like that. I'm a vindictive person. Or no, I wouldn't ask someone to shoot someone on my behalf. She doesn't say yes or no again. She says, not in a million years. Huge big answer. Not in a million years. So she's not answering these questions here about would one of your friends have done this, or someone you know would have done this? And would you have asked someone to do this? She doesn't directly answer those questions with just plain simple yes or no's. She asks a question and then goes really big with this, not in a million years. The detective says, okay, do you think someone would do this for your benefit without asking you? And she says, no. Now that's a yes-no question. And for the first time in this sequence, she answers a yes-no question with a no. Do you think someone would do this for your benefit without asking you? She says no. Now that could be taken as her saying, if someone was going to do this for my benefit, they would have asked me first. Because do you think someone would do this for your benefit without asking you? No. Bang is her straight, immediate answer. Now remember earlier she said she was scared someone would do it for her. Now she says that the person would ask her first. Let's just check back in her words. I'm scared that maybe someone did this, not because they hate Danny, but because they thought it was good somehow. And then when she's asked, do you think someone would do this without for your benefit without asking you? She says, no. We could decode those words to say that she is fairly sure that if someone was going to do this for her benefit, they would have asked her first. The detective says, what good does it serve? And Wendi talks about her brother. So what good would it serve to shoot Danny? She talks about her brother, Charlie. I mean, my brother, the one whose name is Charlie, the one I'm really close to. He makes a lot of jokes in bad taste, and it was a joke he made. So she really wants to get this joke in to the point where she's got the concept of it there straight away. And he made a really bad joke about a hitman. It was a joke he made. And she's getting a little bit stressed and nervous now because the next thing doesn't make sense. It's got a misspeak in there. He bought the TV for me this morning that got broken. Now, he didn't buy the TV that morning. We know that. He bought the TV a while ago and it got broken and then it was being repaired that morning. He bought the TV for me this morning that got broken. So she's saying the TV, pivotal in this story that she's telling, and the fact the TV was being fixed that morning. Now, that doesn't imply guilt. This is not an accusation. This just shows where her mindset is, which is that the TV that was central to what was happening with her that morning was bought by Charlie. He bought the TV for me this morning that got broken. Very passive as well. Not that the kids broke, it's just got broken. And I was talking to him about whether it made sense to pay to fix it or whether I should get a new one. And it was always his joke that, like, he knew Danny treated me badly, and it was always his joke. He said, I know, I looked into hiring a hitman and it was cheaper to get you this TV, so instead I got you this TV. Now let's break that down, because she seems to be tying in the fact that they had the conversation that morning of should we pay to fix it or should we get a new one? And it was always his joke. So it's not just the joke he told that morning, and we know this, but look, this is important because it's coming out in her words. It was always his joke. He made this joke a lot, is what she's saying. He knew Danny treated me badly. So look, we're having a conversation here where she's saying, I'm wondering if this has happened because someone thought it would be good for me. And she's talking about Charlie, and she's talking about the joke that Charlie made, and also a kind of motive for Charlie. He knew Danny treated me badly. Now, let's bear in mind, Charlie has been convicted of being involved in this murder, of commissioning the murder of Dan Markel. He was firmly involved that day. And that morning, according to Wendi, he was making jokes about the hitman. Interesting. He knew Danny treated me badly, and it was always his joke. He said, I looked into hiring a hitman and it was cheaper to get you this TV, so instead I got you this TV. If nothing else, Wendi should be looking at this going, he's now in prison for killing Dan Markel, being involved in the murder of Dan Markel. And that morning, he was making hitman jokes. There should at least be some disgust there in her when she talks about it now. I don't think there is. And then she says, he would never. Now, never is such a word. It comes up in deception all the time. Never really means not at any time. Not at any time. Not once. Not at all. Not in the past, not in the present, not in the future. That's what never means by strict definition. But we use it loosely all the time. By the way, there's a link in the description to this to sign up for my newsletter, because I collect people using the word never and then saying, I didn't actually mean never, I meant something different. There's always one of those in the newsletter, just to prove how never is used. It's such a concrete word by definition, but in practice, never is often deceptive. It doesn't mean as concrete as we think. And then she says, he was my big brother and he's been taking care of me since I was little. Now, he was my big brother. I'm sure that's what she says. It's a little bit indistinct, but I believe he was my big brother. And I wonder what is going on there. What I think might be going on there, and I had to go to my own family history there, is that when you're a child, your big brother or your little brother or so on is quite a relationship status thing there, because that person is older than you, much more experienced than you, much better educated than you, much more able than you, and so on, when someone is your big brother, vice versa for like a little brother. And then as you grow up and you become adults, you become much more equals. So I think that's why he was my big brother. I think of my sister. She's 10 years younger than me, so she was my little sister for so many years. Now we're both adults, she's more likely to be my sister. She was my little sister, now she's my sister. I think that's what's going on there. He's been taking care of me since I was little, but he would never, and again she doesn't finish the thought off, he would never what? He would never what? Because she said before, I mean he would never, and she doesn't finish the thought off there. And again, he's been taking care of me since I was little, but he would never... And I told that to the repair guy this morning. So this is coming out in a bit of a jumble, but we don't know what Charlie would never. She can't bring herself to say it. She can't bring herself to commit to saying it. But the thought is really there in her head, correctly, that Charlie could have been involved with this. He's been taking care of me. He knew Dan didn't treat me well. He made jokes about hiring a hitman. It's all there staring her in the face. And then what she really wants to do is say she told this to the hitman this morning. She told this to the repair guy this morning, not the hitman. She said this to the repair guy this morning. She wants to get that out there. I'm guessing in case they speak to the repair guy and says, yeah, she made a joke about a hitman and then he gets shot. Wow. She's getting ahead of this there. This is what's important for her to say. Not what Charlie would never do, but I passed this joke on. I said, he asked me how much it cost, and I said I didn't know because it was a gift, because my brother said it was cheaper than a hitman. It was my divorce present. Such a horrible thing to say. I'm so sorry. She's apologising for something there, probably apologising for this off-colour joke, I think. But she is certainly apologising. And the guy says, that's okay. And then Wendi goes on. But even my family, so she's fixated on mentioning her family. Now, she started off by saying, I have friends, maybe friends who would think doing this would be a good thing, but she hasn't mentioned any friends. What she's mentioned is family. Charlie, even my family. And that's wider than Charlie, because she's talking about Charlie, and now she's widening that out to family. Even my family, who felt like I'd been mistreated, would never do something like this, never. Now, lots of words in there that need looking at. My family who felt like I had been mistreated. So that is not think that I've been mistreated. No, I've been mistreated. Saw how I was mistreated. Just felt like I had been mistreated, which suggests potentially there's something going on there where maybe even the family are more angry than Wendi was at this mistreatment. Maybe Wendi was part of it and kind of knew Dan and understood the ups and downs they were having, but the family felt she was being mistreated. Or maybe the family were trying to make more of this mistreatment, trying to paint Dan out as an abuser, as someone mistreating Wendi, whereas Wendi knew he wasn't really. He was just fighting for what he wanted and what he thought was right. The family felt like I had been mistreated, would never do something like this. Never. That word never is there again. And it's not would never organise a hitman, it's do something like this. So she's not being very direct with that never that is there. It's just my family would never do something like this. So in that first part that we've looked at there, very confused messaging from Wendi. You know, there's definitely some stress going on there. She doesn't quite know what it is she's saying. She misspeaks it sometimes. She brings up friends, but then talks about family. She is frightened. In her words, she's frightened that someone did this on her behalf. The family mentions are all unprompted. She brings the family, Charlie and the family, to the table. The detective doesn't ask about them. And she's very focused on it being a targeted shooting, that Dan was killed for a reason. And that reason was how he treated Wendi, or the fact that Wendi's life may be better, may be good without Dan Markel around. That's what's in her head. Later on, we are going to see Wendi phone her mom, Donna, to tell her that Dan has been shot. As we know, This is her letting the person who organised the crime, was involved in organising the hit on Dan Markel. This is Wendi letting that person know that it happened. That's going to be fascinating to break down. Let's get some more now in this police interview with Wendi Adelson.
Well, you guys have been divorced for over a year. Has there been any type of abuse in that time?
Of him towards me?
Yeah.
No. It's, he's litigious, and we have an ongoing case because the house, it shouldn't be in my name anymore, but when we settled the case of our divorce, he said, one of the agreements the court said was, Danny wanted to stay in the house. They said, you can have the house, but you need to pay her half of the amount of what the house is worth. And he agreed to it, and then months passed, and he just never paid me.
Okay.
And so we have ongoing litigation where I filed a motion in the court to have him pay me what he said he would, and he filed a counter motion for sanctions against my attorney because he thought that she did something wrong, which she didn't. But so, I mean, she withdrew from the case and was going to serve as a witness. I mean, she's not going to lash out at him for it. She's using the legal process to do it. My parents are, very angry towards him. But even when they're around my kids, they would never say a bad word about my kid's father. They're really, really careful about that. They just like him, but they know he's the father of my kids. They would never do that.
Right.
I don't know who would be angry enough with him.
Well, that's what I have to find out.
To do something like this.
The brother that you're real close to, I have to do a lot of elimination at the same time. The brother that you're really close to, the one that joked about the TV and everything, what'd you say his name was?
Charlie.
Charlie, and he's in Fort Lauderdale?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me what kind of car he has.
He has like 5 cars.
Can't tell me all of them.
He drives I think one of them is an unmarked police car.
Oh, really?
He's a bit of a character.
Okay.
So I don't know what he's driving at the time.
Right.
But I'll tell you, he's a periodontist, and he has this practice where he works from early in the morning till late at night. So if you ever wanted to find his whereabouts, he's working all day long until early in the morning till late at night, always driving to a different office, working.
Oh, he goes to different offices?
Yeah, he works in different offices all over South Florida and does implants for people. And he works really hard all the time. He has a girlfriend, so he's pretty much accounted for all the time.
Charlie, was that his first name?
I mean, is it just me, or is Wendi really boring? She can yak on and on and on. Shock, trauma, potentially. The detective says, you guys have been divorced for over a year. Has there been any type of abuse in that time? Another yes/no question. And what do we get from her? Of him towards me? The detective confirms yes. And she says, no. So she does a no in the answer to the question. Has there been any type of abuse in that time? She clarifies of him towards me. No. Now that's interesting, is because has there been any type of abuse in that time? Just no. But of him towards me? Why did she need that clarification? Has there been abuse from her towards him? Would the answer be different if he was asking about Wendi? Have you abused him? Or has there been any abuse either way? No is what she says though. Believe that there has been no abuse, because she gives a very straightforward no answer. No abuse from Dan to Wendi. But in Wendi's head, is it possible there was abuse from Wendi towards Dan? Seems to be what's implied in those words there. Then she goes extra. She says things that she hasn't been asked for. She's answered the question. Has there been any type of abuse? No. But she goes extra. She wants to tell this story. It's important for her to get this story out. He's litigious, and we have an ongoing case because the house, it shouldn't be, I don't know, it shouldn't be in his name anymore. But when we settled the case of our divorce, he said, or one of the agreements the court said was, Danny wanted to stay in the house. They said, you can have the house, but you need to pay her half the amount of what the house is worth. And he agreed to it. And then the months passed and he just never paid me. Another word for deception there. Just Whenever you hear a word just, dig in around what's being said. Very often it's been used to direct our attention onto one thing while there's a lot more happening. But they're saying, just this one thing happened and that's all I want you to look at, whereas there's a lot more to the story. He just never paid me. I think there was a lot more going on there, and there was a whole lot of litigation going on there. It's not that he just didn't pay. There was a whole lot more going on, as Wendi explains. And so we have ongoing litigation where I filed a motion in court to have him pay me what he said he would. And he filed a counter motion for sanctions against my attorney because he thought she did something wrong, which she didn't. But so, I mean, she withdrew from the case and she was going to serve as a witness. Now, I didn't notice this at the time I was doing the analysis. This is what I love about statements like this. More and more comes to me all the time. And when I was listening to that there, she was going to serve as a witness. She's not going to anymore. For some reason in Wendi's head, this lawyer that has withdrawn from the case was going to serve as a witness. That means that they aren't anymore. Now, I don't know the ins and outs. Is it that this didn't happen anymore, or this person's not needed as a witness? Or does Wendi think there is not going to be any more litigation because Dan has been shot? Well, Dan's not dead at the moment this is happening, so this person could still serve as a witness. Or maybe this case will still go on because Dan's estate will be there or something like that. But for some reason, she thinks not litigation is over, but she thinks this person is not going to serve as a witness anymore. So she's not going to lash out at him for it. She's using the legal process to do it. Let's rewind all of this because this is a bit nuts. This started off talking about was there abuse because is that why your family are mad at Dan? And she explains there was no abuse, but this was very testy, ongoing litigation with all sorts of stuff going on. It was a real messy situation. And then she disqualifies her lawyer from her attorney from being involved in the shooting here. She's not going to lash out at him. She's using the legal process to do it. So she was lashing out at him. In some ways, she's just not going to do it by being involved in the shooting of Dan Markel. But again, Wendi, again going, this is someone who wants to get at Dan. He annoyed people enough to get shot. Then she brings her parents up again. She hasn't been asked about this, but even, my parents are, very angry towards him. But even when they're around my kids, they would never say a bad word about my kid's father. They really, really careful about that. They dislike him, but they know he's the father of my kids. So obviously, they obviously said bad words about him a lot. And she says that. They were very angry towards him, but they would never say it in front of the kids. Now, that is not real solid evidence that these guys could not have been involved in commissioning the shooting or shooting Dan Markel. The fact they were nice around the kids. But this just seems to be the best thing that she can offer here. They would never do that. Two nevers. They would never do that. She doesn't say what that is, by the way. I don't know who would be angry enough with him to do something like this. So once more, it's only in her head that Dan has been shot because of anger. Robbery. Just doesn't come into her head whatsoever. Wrong place, wrong time, mistaken identity. None of these things come into her head. It's all about anger. And the detective decides now's the time to ask some questions about Charlie, the brother you're real close to. I have to do a lot of elimination at the same time. The brother that you're really close to. The one that joked about the TV and everything. That means hitman, code for hitman there. What did you say his name was? Charlie. Charlie, and he's in Fort Lauderdale? Yeah, says Wendi. And this is a yes-no question. He's in Fort Lauderdale. This is how yes-no questions are normally answered when, truthfully, it's just a yes or a no. Yeah. Okay, tell me what kind of car he has. He has like 5 cars. And the detective says, can you tell me all of them? He drives, I think one of them is an unmarked police car. He's a bit of a character. So I don't know what he's driving at the time, is what Wendi says. 5 cars, he's driving one of them at the time. At the time, well, what time? I'm guessing this is the time of the shooting. And for some reason, once more, Wendi is into Charlie potentially being involved. It's not he was at work at the time or anything like that, or he told me he was just about to go into surgery. He was driving a car at the time, and she realizes Charlie and the time of the shooting go hand in hand. Right, says the detective. But I'll tell you, he's a periodontist and he has this practice where he works from early in the morning to late at night. So if you ever wanted to find his whereabouts, he's working all day long. She's giving alibis now or resume statements where, look, he's a hardworking guy. He works from early in the morning to late at night, a periodontist, so someone who has studied hard, is very clever, very knowledgeable. So look, you know, this is like a character witness and an alibi all in one. Until early in the morning to late at night, always driving to a different office, working. So this is like her saying, you know, this is character witness time. None of this is he didn't do it. I know he didn't do it. I know he wouldn't do it. It's like, you know, this is alibi for him. He's always working. Oh, he goes to different offices, says the detective. Yeah, he works at different places all over South Florida, does implants for people, and he works really hard all the time. He has a girlfriend, so he's pretty much accounted for all the time. So she's offering up here like this sort of character statement there for Charlie, but it's weak. He has a girlfriend, so he's pretty much accounted for all the time. Now that's interesting. Like, again, thinking back to, you know, my sister, I would never say my sister's accounted for all the time. I know lots about what she does. I know how hard my sister works. I know lots about her pastimes. I know lots of people she spends time with, but I would never say, oh yeah, she's accounted for all the time. Strange. Just lumping in Charlie and criminality here. So here, once more, Wendy's focus is on anger and upset being the motive for the shooting. She talks for a long time about these legal problems, much more fluidly than she mentioned the hitman earlier, by the way, although there was still some stopping and starting and self-correcting as she went there. Now, I found it quite boring. I found it way too detailed there, but I wonder if that is, again, it could be the trauma, or it could be the fact that what we've got going on here is something that she feels really comfortable talking about, setting out all these legal travails that the pair of them had. It could be that. That could be the reason why she feels the need to talk for a long time about that. It's quite easy to do. It's all documented as well, so this can be checked against, you know, the filings and the motions and so on can all be checked against actual filings and motions. And she's giving Charlie alibis already. He works very hard. Don't know what kind of car he had. He's a great guy. He's got a girlfriend. He's accounted for. It's all very strange. Now, we do still have that game changer one to come where she talks about what a game changer it is that Dan has not been killed. That is fascinating, and that is still to come. But let's get some more inside the police interview with Wendi Adelson.
If, you know, and you're not under arrest or anything like that.
I understand why you think I'm the primary suspect.
No, you're not the primary suspect. I have to work just as hard whether you were or you're not.
Okay. I understand.
To show what your activities were.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And let's put it this way. I think you're a straightforward person. And I think at this point, if you had anything to do with this, you'd have already told me.
Okay.
And you haven't. So my thing is that let's let the...
My ex-husband caused me a lot of grief. I would never do something like that.
I know. And it's
So
gonna...
I understand why I would be the person you would think would do something, but...
Well, we have to work just as hard to eliminate people.
It's fine. I want to figure out who this is, because
Right.
I'm honestly worried.
Well, let me ask you, if you found out that this was someone that you personally know, would that change your mind about what should happen to that person?
About what should happen to that person?
For prosecution purposes.
No.
Is there any way that you would think
if
somebody
tried to kill my ex-husband, they should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law.
Regardless of who it is.
I mean, it would be different if I thought it were my brother, but I don't think it was my family.
Okay.
Anyone outside my immediate family, that's a tough one.
Okay.
But I don't think my immediate family did this, so
Okay.
if it's anybody else, yeah.
Okay. Would you think that this guy Charlie would even be capable of doing something like this?
No.
It's just talk.
He's the Joker.
Okay. All right.
Please tell me you spotted the question to the question there. We'll go through it. The detective says, you're not under arrest or anything like that. Wendi says, I understand why you think I'm the primary suspect. No, you're not the primary suspect, says the detective. I have to work just as hard whether you were or not. Okay, I understand, says Wendi. to show what your activities were. And let's put it this way. I think you're a straightforward person. And I think at this point, if you had anything to do with this, you'd have already told me. And Wendi says, okay. She interrupts kind of a little bit and says, okay. What she doesn't do is reaffirm that she had nothing to do with this. Even at the beginning there, she's saying, I understand why you think I'm the primary suspect. She's not saying, but believe me, I had nothing to do with it. There's no denial offered up at all. It's just an okay at that point. The detective says, and you haven't. So my thing is that let's let the... And Wendi interrupts with something that she hasn't been asked to provide, so she's just going to offer this up. My ex-husband caused me a lot of grief. I would never do something like that. This is worth breaking down. My ex-husband caused me a lot of grief. She is putting a little label on the guy who's just been shot there. He's not Danny, the kid's father. He's my ex-husband. That's how she is labeling him there. There's a lot of distance to that label there. Certainly the fact that he's currently lying in hospital, in ICU, getting, trauma care and everything like that, doesn't soften the way that she refers to him. He's my ex-husband. And that's going to become important when we hear her called Donna in a bit. My ex-husband caused me a lot of grief. I would never do something like that. So she says, I would. Doesn't quite finish that off. She has to think about what it is that she wants to say. I would never, we've got that word never again, do something like that. We've got that softening severity. It's not, I have nothing to do with his shooting. It's, I would never do something like that. So I understand why I'd be the person you would think would do something, but the detective says, well, we have to work just as hard to eliminate people. It's fine, says Wendi. I want to figure out who this is because I'm honestly worried. Once more, she wants to figure out who this is. She doesn't think that, randomness or, I want to help solve this, or if there's anyone that could have done it, I would want to figure it out. She's only fixated on the fact that someone did this who she knows. I want to figure out who this is. It's not, I want to figure out what happened. I want to help you get to the bottom of this, or I want to get to the bottom of this. I want to figure out who this is because doesn't finish the I've thought either. I'm honestly worried. That word honestly, another red flag for deception. It's a persuasive word. If she just said, I'm worried, it would mean the same thing, but she has to persuade us how worried she is. I'm honestly worried. Trust me, I'm worried. I'm honestly worried. Well, let me ask you, says the detective, and this is a great question. It catches people out a lot. If you found out that this was someone that you personally know, would that change your mind about what should happen to that person? And here we have the question to the question thinking time. Whoa! What should happen to that person if it's someone I know? About what should happen to that person? As she says, it's question to a question there. This is buying her thinking time for what the hell is the right answer to this. The detective says for prosecution purposes. No, says Wendi. So she's thought about that and she delivers a yes-no answer. No, but she had to buy some thinking time to deliver that. So it's not quite as convincing for me as a straightforward no. If someone was doing this, they should face justice. I mean, if somebody tried to kill my ex-husband, they should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. I mean, if somebody tried to kill my ex-husband, now this is saying, that someone has tried to kill him, again, this is saying that in Wendi's head, this was all about killing Dan. This wasn't about power to frighten someone, an accidental discharge even. It's if somebody tried to kill my ex-husband, they should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Not they should go to jail for the rest of their lives. Not they should face the death penalty or anything like that. Just they should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Potentially that's the lawyer in her coming forward and saying that, prosecution is enough and I trust the legal system, that the legal system will get the just deserves for that person. But it is only they should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. And the detective pushes a little bit harder, regardless of who it is. And then this is fairly damning. I mean, it would be different if I thought it were my brother, but I don't think it was my family. What she's saying there, in her own words, is that if her brother was involved in the shooting, trying to kill her ex-husband, he shouldn't be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. That is what is coming out of her mouth. That is the words that she said at that time. That if Charlie was involved in trying to kill her ex-husband, then he shouldn't be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. But I don't think it was my family. Notice there that it is, she mentions it were my brother, but then she widens it out to family. Then she misspeaks, I think. I mean, anyone outside my immediate family, that's a tough one. I think what she means is if it's my immediate family, what should happen to them, that's a tough one. But I don't think anyone in my immediate family did this. So if it's anyone else, yeah. So again, this is coming out from her that if it's her family that's involved in this, prosecution to the full extent of the law, not as important as if it was someone that she doesn't know. Okay. Would you think this guy Charlie would even be capable of doing something like this? And she says no. It's a yes/no question, and we get that no right there. Now, what is going on there? Is it that this is an honest answer, that she doesn't think Charlie would be capable of doing anything like this? Or is it this thing that I see going on with the Adelsons quite a lot, which is like they hired hitmen, they hired intermediaries, they hired hitmen, so they don't think that they really were involved in murdering someone. Someone else did the murder stuff. Someone else pulled the trigger, and therefore they have some distance. And they're not really murderers. They just got rid of a problem. Just talk, says the detective. He's a joker, says Wendi. So in this part here where we look at what is going on when Wendi is really digging into herself and her family, once more, the focus is on her family. This is exactly where she goes, like every time she's asked about this, she just zooms in on her family. She definitely thinks it's highly likely her family were involved in this. It's where her focus is with it. She brings up family and connection all the time. It's not the detective that does that at all. She feels some justification of her family's actions. I'm pretty damn sure of that. So we know Donna has recently been jailed for the murder of Dan Markel. So what happens when Wendi phones her mom to tell her that Dan has been shot? That is on the way. Do you ever get that gut feeling that someone's holding something back or not giving you the full story? Kind of like what's going on with Wendi here then. You're not paranoid, you are perceptive in my opinion, because most people don't see the clues hiding in plain sight when you look at someone's words. But you don't have to. I'll show you how to hear what's really being said and what isn't being said as well, because every case I break down on this channel will sharpen your instincts and change how you hear conversations forever. So if you are ready to see through the noise and understand what's really being said, hit subscribe to get more like this. Hit like or follow to help this get to more people as well. Step inside this world of really hearing what is being said. And do you know someone who keeps getting misled? Do send this or send this channel their way. You might just change the way they see the world too. Let's get back into the interview room. And this is Wendi phoning Donna.
If I can't reach them. Hi, Mom. How's it going? Mom, I need you to sit down. I am fine. The boys are fine. I need you to sit down. I'm fine, and the boys are fine. Danny has been. You can put me on speaker. Yeah. Danny has been shot. And I don't think he's gonna make it. And so I know. So I found this out around 1 or 2 today, and I'm at the police station, and I'm trying to help them figure out who may have done this. The boys are fine. I had Lynn and Alan pick them up from school, and they're with Lynn and Alan right now. And I'm gonna leave here soon and go be with them. But I really need you to come here and be with me. But I want you to either fly, obviously you can't leave right now, but I need you to get yourself together. If it's too much to drive, I'd really rather that you flew up. I'm at the police station, and I'm gonna leave soon and be with the boys before they go to bed. They're with Alan and Lynn, and they're totally fine. Yeah, the boys are fine, but they don't know anything yet. In his house, I know. So I just need you to calm down before you get in the car, okay? Okay, so, and it's, it's evening, so if you want to come here tomorrow, I have a lot of people that'll, be here with me, and, we'll have a lot of support. So I want you to take your time and just be safe in getting here, but I'd like you to come when you can, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I love you. I think Jane might, I have the car here, but Jane might take me. I'm not going to be alone, so I have a lot of support, and I'll be fine. Yeah, if you could just come here, that would be great. He's in the ICU in the hospital. Okay, but be careful, okay? Okay. 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 Love you too. Bye. Mom. Oh.
You did awesome.
Donna does call back with because she heard the mom as she was hanging up, and we will look at that in a bit, but let's break down this call. Sadly not on speakerphone, so we can't hear everything that Donna said there, but we can hear bits and bobs. Hi Mom, how's it going? Says Wendi, kind of nonchalantly at the start of the call. Now Donna does reply, I don't know what she says, I can't make it out. I do hear her mention shower though. How's it going? I'm just out the shower. You dance in the shower. There's something going on about showers in there, which code words? I don't know. Mom, I need you to sit down. I am fine. The boys are fine, says Wendi. Donna replies and maybe includes the word sure in there. Wendi says, I need you to sit down. I'm fine, and the boys are fine. Danny has been, and Donna interrupts at this point. So she refers to him as Danny, not ex-husband, which she was doing earlier, or him or anything like that. It's that softer when she's talking to her mom. Danny has been. Donna interrupts. And then you can put me on speaker, says Wendi. Yeah, Danny has been shot. And we hear Donna say, what? Give that woman an Oscar. And then we hear what again from Donna, even though, as we know, she's fully aware of what was going to happen, if not what had happened. And Wendi says, and I don't think he's going to make it. And so I know. So I found this out around 1 or 2 today. Now the focus here is really on Wendi. Now Dan's the one that's been shot. He's the one that's in urgent care and getting treatment. But she's talking about herself. I don't think he's going to make it. She's been told this, I think, by the police there. But it's not, we don't think he's going to make it. It's just, I don't think he's going to make it. Not saying there's anything suspicious about that. This is just Wendi talking about Wendi. And so I know. So I found this out around 1 or 2 today. So again, I'm not saying this is suspicious, but it shows you where Wendy's thoughts are at. Not when Dan was shot, but when she found this out. I also noticed that, in terms of telling your mom that your ex-husband has been shot, your ex-husband who had custody of the kids that day, she doesn't say anything about where it happened, when it happened. So this was this morning at his house. This was after he dropped the kids off at school, so they weren't around. There was no danger to the kids. She doesn't impart any of that information at all. That is interesting to me, that she doesn't feel the need to tell her mom that where this happened, when this happened, and the proximity of the children who were with Dan overnight and with Dan that morning. She doesn't have to tell her mom any of those things at all. And I'm at the police station and I'm trying to help them figure out who may have done this. We have this focus again on this, Wendi being able to help them figure out who may have done this. Again, I don't know what's happened, could be a robbery gone wrong or anything like that. It's just who may have done this. The boys are fine. I had Lynn and Alan pick them up from school, and they're with Lynn and Alan right now. And I'm going to leave here soon and be with them. So she doesn't mention any of the logistics, like the boys not being there, when or where it happened. She does, as you notice though, have a focus on the boys being fine. She keeps saying this, the boys are fine. However, it's not the boys are fine because they weren't there, or the boys are fine, they don't know what's happened. It's just the boys are fine. but I really need you to come here and be with me. But I want you to either fly. I mean, obviously, you can't leave right now, but I need you to get yourself together. If it's too much to drive, I'd really rather you flew up. Where are you now, sweetheart? Asked Donna. We heard that bit. I'm at the police station. You've already been told that, but I would understand she might not have heard all of that. And I'm going to leave soon and be with the boys before they go to bed. They're with Alan and Lynn, and they're totally fine. Yeah, the boys are fine, but they don't know anything yet. So this real focus on the boys being fine, but not the boys not being there when it happened. Not even, any logistics of where it happened have come up yet. And where did this happen? Asks Donna. In his house. I know, says Wendi. I'm interested in why in his house. Does she know that it happened inside his garage? Is that where it happened? I'm not 100% sure. But I understand it. I wouldn't describe where it happened as in his house. Does Wendi know exactly where it happened from everything else there? I'm just curious as to why she says in his house. So I need you to calm down before you get in the car, okay? Okay. So and it's it's evening, and so if you want to come here tomorrow, I have a lot of people that will be here with me, and we'll have a lot of support. So I want you to take your time and just be safe in getting here. But I'd like you to come here when you can, okay? Yeah, says Donna. Okay, all right, love you. Then we hear Donna talking. And then I think Jane might, I have a car here, but Jane might take me. I think Donna is asking, can you get someone to drive you? I'm not going to be alone. So I have a lot of support, and I'll be fine. Yeah, if you could get here, that would be great. And Donna says, we'll come as soon as we can. When you say he may not make it, where is he? When you say he may not make it, where is he? Not when you say you may not make it, what happened? How is he? Donna just wants to know where he is. He may not make it. Where is he? He's in the ICU in the hospital. Okay, we're going to get there as soon as we can, says Donna. Okay, but be careful. Okay. Love you too. Bye. And then she says, Mom, because there's something else that she wants to say to her, which we will get to. And then the victim advocate, which is the person sitting next to Wendi, says, you did awesome with that call. Wendi says, thanks. So in that call there, Oscar for Donna, because what? Great acting when you've been involved in it. Real big focus on the boys are fine in that call. Low focus on Dan, and low focus on getting across any of the logistics which have happened, which have been involved, including just reassuring her of the fact not just the boys are fine, but they weren't there when it happened. Interesting in that call. That game changer comment is still to come from Wendi. We will break that down. But as Wendi is talking, Mom calls back because she realised Wendi wasn't finished talking yet. And what Wendi has to say is very interesting indeed.
That call. You were so stressed out about it, and you handled it.
I just wanted you, I talked to Alan, okay? And just because, my suggestion to him, just because we don't know what's going on, was if he goes to the house.
Sorry, my mom might be calling back because she heard me. Mom? You did, yeah. I just wanted to ask if you could just tell Charlie for me. I just don't want to be making calls right now, so if you could just tell Charlie for me, that would be great. Okay, and just, it's on the news a little bit that there was a shooting on Trescott, and so I'm starting to get a lot of calls, and I'm not going to be answering them unless they're from you, so I would really try not to tell anybody what's going on just yet, just because, he's in the hospital, and Charlie, I talked to Charlie earlier today, obviously before any of this happened. I talked to him at 10 this morning, and he said that he was coming to visit you guys this weekend, and he had plans, and he sounded good. I just can't, Mom. So can you just tell him? Yeah, just tell him for me, and then I'm sure I'll talk to him soon. But I don't want to be on the phone unless I have to right now. Okay. Okay, all right. Love you too. Bye. My mom handled that pretty well. Could you hear her?
Yeah.
She set a new record there for the amount of times the word just was used per minute. You were so stressed about it and you handled it well, says the victim advocate. I just want to talk to Alan, okay? And just because it was my suggestion to him, just because we don't know what was going on, says one of the police people there. What if he's going to the house and then the phone rings and Wendy says, sorry, Mom might be calling me back because she heard me. She picks up the phone. She says, Mom, you did. Yeah. I just wanted to ask if you could just tell Charlie for me. I just don't want to be making calls right now. So if you could just tell Charlie for me, that would be great. Now, that word just indicates deception, minimizing, drawing focus to one place, turning down things is in full effect here. So, 4 justs in that really one paragraph intro to the call. I just wanted to ask if you could just tell Charlie for me. I just don't want to be making calls right now. So if you could just tell Charlie for me, that would be great. Not her normal speech pattern. We've seen a couple of justs from her, but really this suggests to me some deception going on. Now again, this doesn't necessarily be deception that Wendy was in on the plot and this is what's going on. Could be, but it could just be that she is hiding her reasons for not wanting to speak to Charlie for some reason there with all these justs. Okay, and I'll stop pointing out the just now because there's so many of them. And just like it's on the news a little bit that there was a shooting in Trescott, and so I'm starting to get a lot of calls, and I'm not going to be answering them unless they're from you. So I would really try not to tell anybody about what's going on just yet, just because like he's in the hospital. And Charlie, I talked to Charlie earlier today, obviously before any of this happened. Whose benefit is that for? Whose benefit is that? I talked to Charlie before any of this happened. Please don't think I talked to Charlie after this happened because that would look suspicious. Is this for the benefit of the police people watching? Charlie, I talked to Charlie earlier today. Obviously, convincing word, before any of this happened. Like I talked to him at like 10 this morning. This feels like storytelling. This doesn't feel like for the benefit of Donna about when the conversation was. This feels like for the benefit of the tape, basically. Like I talked to him before any of this happened. I haven't spoken to him after any of this happened because that would be a little bit more suspicious. But I talked to him at like 10 this morning and he said that he was coming to visit you guys this weekend and he had plans and he sounded good. Great. I mean, this is real pales into insignificance, I think, compared to what's happening to Dan right now. But she just wants to, get across again for the benefit of the tape. This was just a casual call about weekend plans and so on. More justs. I just can't, Mom. So can you just tell him? Yeah, just tell him for me. And then I'm sure I'll talk to him soon. But I don't want to be on the phone unless I have to right now. Okay. All right. Love you too. Bye. And then Wendy says, my mom handled that pretty well. Could you hear her? And the victim advocate says, yeah. My mom handled that pretty well. It's a really simple thing. Unless she's talking about the whole phone call. Maybe she is. But it's just a request to let Charlie know. But for some reason, like, why does Wendy not want to talk to Charlie? It feels to me like the justs are turning this into something that is like she's got bigger reasons for it, or she's calling her mom for another reason. But hopefully that Donna gets, I don't know, the code, the implication. I don't know. That's what could be happening here. I just don't want to talk to Charlie just now. Is it, I need to distance myself from Charlie and I hope you're getting that implication, Mom? Don't know, but it's very, very, very strange. So in that part there, was the message just a sort of implicit, I'm not talking to Charlie, Mom, and you need to know. But again, Charlie comes up unprompted. I talked to him this morning. It was around 10 o'clock, obviously before any of this happened. It's really not baffling. I've got several ideas as to why that part of the phone call could happen, but the number of justs suggests to me we're not getting the full story there. There's something more going on. Right, you are a podcast listener because you are getting this part of the analysis. This is a bonus bit for you where we dig into just a little bit more about Wendy in this police interview room.
I'm sorry. I can't believe this is happening.
And I'm sorry this is happening.
God, everyone's sorry this is happening. You know, it's like my parents have more reason to dislike Danny than almost anyone else. He hurt their daughter. Mm-hmm. But listening to my mom just like cry and be horrified on the phone and be like, oh, good. She sounded like...
Well, it's horrible. And normal, good-hearted people don't wish
Nobody would.
things like this to happen. You know, like you might say like, I get frustrated. You might be like, I hate someone, but you don't ever saying stuff out of emotion isn't something you really want sometimes to happen.
This is a very strange day.
This all just seems like random conversation, but again, is this for the benefit of the tape? Wendi says, I'm sorry, I can't believe this is happening. And the victim advocate who is talking to her there says, I'm sorry this is happening. Wendi says, God, everyone's sorry this is happening. You know, it's like my parents have more reason to dislike Danny than almost anyone else. Once more, unprompted mention of her parents. Dan is being shot. She says she's trying to help people find out what happened. And unprompted, she says, my parents really did not like this. Guy, my parents have more reason to dislike Danny than almost anyone else. He hurt their daughter. Talking about it in a sort of distant way there. Not he hurt me, it's he hurt their daughter. And I've seen this a couple of times when Wendi talks, which is that her parents were more objected more, were more horrified, have more reasons to be angry than Wendi herself has. He hurt their daughter. But listening to my mom just like cry and be horrified on the phone and be like, oh God, she sounded like... Now, granted, we didn't hear everything there, but I didn't really hear Donna cry. Horrified, potentially crying, not 100% sure. Is this to say, you know, my mom was so shocked by all of this, you know, she cried. She was asking, did you hear that? Hoping, I think, that there was a witness there that Donna had shock when she was told that Dan had been called. And the advocate says it's horrible and normal. Good-hearted people don't wish things like this to happen, you know? Like, you might say, like, I get frustrated. You might be like, I hate someone. But you don't ever... Saying stuff out of emotion isn't something you want sometimes to happen. And Wendi doesn't take that on at all. She just goes, this is a very strange day. Not sad, frightening, just strange day. Wendi saying there she finds the day strange. So in that section there, she seems to be focused on, can her mum be heard? And relaying her mum's demeanour as if to say, look, let's get this all out there. Mum was sad. Mum was surprised. That feels what that is all about there. Her vibe is like, my parents are the prime suspects, but hey, they are nice people. Which is, again, she seems to be building alibis and character witness statements for her parents as well as for Charlie. An interesting, really interesting little passage there. Right, that was your podcast exclusive. I hope you enjoyed that. Let's get back with everyone else. So this is Wendi talking to the victim advocate and hearing something from the victim advocate that, well, makes her say something very strange indeed.
They have some fleeting concept of things like God.
They know heaven.
Heaven. I mean, I don't know.
And let me just kind of back. I'm not sure what investigator Isom kind of told you. You know that he's still alive.
No, I didn't know that.
Okay. He's.
Is he possibly gonna make it?
I don't know the answer to that. I know
He made it sound like he was gone. So does that mean that he might be okay? You don't
I
know.
don't think, from what it sounds like, I don't think he'll be
the same. Okay, but he might make it.
I don't want to give you that false hope.
I'm sorry, I just thought he was gone and now I don't know what to tell. It's sort of a game changer.
I know, and that's why I was kind of asking you.
I didn't know that. He made
I mean,
he made it sound like he was gone.
I don't think it's good though.
I know I mean that's sort of what he said, but I assumed he was saying that like euphemistically.
And that's why I'm kind of because I don't want to be misleading
Is there
in this
any way to
conversation.
find out if like, because if he might be okay, like I want to bring the kids to him.
Wendi was told at the very outset when she got into the police interview room that Dan was not dead, but that he probably wouldn't make it. So here, it sounds like she's fishing for a little bit of information from this victim advocate. She's talking about the children here that she has. They have some fleeting concept of things like God, heaven. I mean, I don't know. The advocate says, and let me just kind of back. I'm not sure what Investigator Isom has kind of told you. You know that he's still alive. And Wendi says, no, I didn't know that. Now, we've heard more of that where she was told that, yeah, he was still alive. She admits this later on in the conversation. This is why I think she's fishing for information. No, I didn't know that. Is he possibly going to make it? The advocate, and by the way, she's brilliant at tactfully answering questions. She says, I don't know the answer to that. I know. Then Wendi says, he made it sound like he was gone. So does that mean he might be okay? The advocate says, I don't think, from what it sounds like, I don't think he'll be the same. Okay, but he might make it, says Wendi, seemingly trying to mine information out of this. It's the third time she's asked the question. She says, does this mean that he might be okay? Is he possibly going to make it? And again, okay, but he might make it. 3 times she asks the will he make it question. Seems a really important one for her to get an answer to. The advocate says, I don't want to give you false hope. And then we have that line. I'm sorry, says Wendi. I just felt like he was gone. That felt like he was gone. So that's an admission, that she has heard that he's still alive, but she's talking like he's dead. And the advocate's saying, no, he might make it. I just felt like he was gone. And now I don't know what to tell. Doesn't finish that thought. It's sort of a game changer. Now, those 2 things there really pull me up short. I don't know what to tell who. I don't know what to tell the kids. Might be what she's going to say. Well, I guess you tell them the truth there. I don't know what to tell. Well, this was before she called her mom. I've taken this slightly out of sequence. I don't know what to tell my parents. I don't know what to tell Charlie. We don't know. We can't guess because she hasn't finished that thought. But she feels the need to tell someone that Dan is still alive and Dan may make it. Now, her mindset has been changed a little bit. She says, it's sort of a game changer. Now, don't know about you. Doesn't matter how much you don't like someone. Unless you really want them dead, it's not a game changer that they may make it. It's great news or such a relief or please let that happen. It doesn't change the game. Unless you're playing a game, unless there's a game on, then it would change the game. And if the game is for Dan to be dead, it certainly would change the game. It's such a strange statement to use. I should give full credit to Julia Cowley of The Consult, the former FBI podcast, which is great. You should listen to that. It was her that spotted this line, game changer, in this 5 hours of interview. It just is so weird. But for me, that line just before it as well, I don't know what to tell, is interesting as well. This really seems to have pulled Wendi up short. She seems to be mining for information. She doesn't seem to be truthful about what she knows. That seems to change as this passage goes on. It's sort of like a game changer. She said, the advocate says, I know, and that's why I was kind of asking you. I didn't know that, says Wendi. He made it sound like he was gone. So what? Made it sound like he was gone, didn't tell me he was gone. I don't think it's good though. Says Wendi, that's sort of what he said, but I assumed he was saying that like euphemistically, and that's why I'm kind of at it because I don't want to be misleading in this conversation, says the victim advocate. Is there any way to find out, says Wendi? She really wants an answer to this question. Is he going to be all right? It's like, because if he might be okay, like, I want to bring the kids to him. Interesting passage there, but that game changer line, wow, that may pull me up short. So there's a look at Wendi in the police interview, talking about Charlie, talking about Donna. I mean, I've got so many red flags there. The fact that she doesn't entertain any possibility other than Dan was shot because someone was angry with him. The fact she mentions her family time after time after time after time. The fact she's not 100% straight there, trying to elicit some information about the condition of Dan as well. That really, really bugs me. And that line, game changer. You only change the game if you're playing a game. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. If you can, or get in touch on social media. You'll find all the links at neveratruerword.com. And if Adelsons are your thing, then do check out neveratruerword.com as well, because there's a whole load of podcasts or video episodes looking at the Adelson family and the murder of Dan Markel, including Charlie and including Donna as well. And Donna's trial got a lot of coverage. Lots more Wendi as well. You'll find it all at neveratruerword.com. And we'll see you soon for something new from Never a Truer Word.